I'm going to start all over if you don't mind. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again. Welcome to Hope United Methodist Church. This is our 15th year doing our concert series. And this year we have Fred Benedetti. Fred Benedetti played a lot of the Beatles songs, which me and my husband were very excited to hear about. Heard some of his songs, Penny Lane, My Life. So we were excited to see that he also played all over the world. He played in Canada, Russia, and also Germany. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Fred Benedetti. But before we get started, if I can remind everyone to please silence their cell phone. And so now we're going to get started. Fred Benedetti.
Thank you. Let's see if it should be working. Is it working? All right, very good. Thank you, everyone, for being here. You've seen in some of the advertisements, actually, I did see on the webpage that they had a picture of me with my double neck guitar. And of course, Wendy Callan, who had hired me, and said, "Did you bring your double neck?" And I said, "No, I didn't bring my double neck." But I brought a lot of other necks with me today. And so hopefully that will make up for missing just a couple of those. The double neck guitar that I generally use, or that I use that's pictured on a lot of my publicity photos, is one that's very, very conducive for playing like in a band. And I usually play that with my very, very good friend Peter Sprague, who also owns the only other double neck made by what is his first name? Powers. Oh my goodness, I can't remember. It's on the album cover. Andy Powers, my goodness, Andy Powers is the maker of those particular instruments. But today I have several different ones that I'm going to play for you, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for you to hear the difference between an acoustic instrument and one that's kind of a hybrid instrument that you plug in, because obviously you'll hear the difference in the sound. And so today I'm going to begin with a piece that I like to begin with quite often in concerts, and that's a composition that I've composed myself based on a flamenco tradition. It's entitled Granadinas. And there are many Granadini in flamenco music, but this one is one that was commissioned, and so it's unique for me. And it was commissioned from a San Diego company that had asked composers locally to write music so they can be used royalty-free for companies that wanted to use that music. So it was exclusive to that particular CD. So I'll begin with Granadinas on a flamenco guitar made by Miguel Rodriguez. And if you look at this instrument compared to normal classical guitars, this has pine back and sides, and so normally it's called a blanca, because it looks blonde and white. And the top is a cedar top. It was used quite often. If you get really close to it, you could see that there's a lot of marks from being used quite a bit. Those are not my marks. I'm really nice with my guitars. I don't make too many marks on mine. So anyway, I'll play Granadinas, and then I'll go into a Malagueña, and perhaps maybe even a Soliares for you. Thank you. As you can hear, this instrument is a very live, bright-sounding guitar. If you were to hear it, even without the microphone, you'd hear how much brightness that it puts out. Whereas on the classical guitar, which you'll see when I bring out my 1830 instrument, completely different kind of tone and adaptation to how to play it. This next piece I'd like to play for you, again, is one that I often pair with the Granadinas, and that is Malagueña by Ernesto Lecuona, Cuban composer, but probably he composed the most famous of all malagueñas, of the Spanish malagueñas. The typical theme that you hear, and you can recognize a malagueña by these notes. The other theme, of course, you'd hear is this. Oftentimes those are connected together. This particular arrangement I made myself for the guitar. Ernesto Lecuona composed it for the piano. And the piano version that he composed, amazing, incredible, a virtuoso piece, definitely. I adapted parts of it so that it would be a little bit more guitaristic. And of course, it does sound guitaristic because the malagueño itself is comes from the Spanish flamenco tradition. Did that get turned up at all? No? Thank you. Okay, let's switch over now to the instrument, which is really a classical guitar from the 19th century. This was built in 1830. This is a real instrument from that time period. This is not a replica. This was built at that time. I was able to get this instrument actually because one of my students who showed a real interest in early music after studying classical guitar for a while, got into playing the lute, but then also found a person in Europe, a luthier, who would fix instruments, and there happens to be thousands of these instruments all over Europe, surprisingly enough. They're all over the place. But obviously they're in disrepair and they need to be restored, and so this one was restored. I had a choice of two sent to me. One was beautiful and ornate. It had all kinds of ornamentation on it, and this one, as you can see, is quite plain. Well, when I'm choosing an instrument, it doesn't matter what it looks like, it's what it sounds like. And let me tell you, I played the pretty one first, and I said, oh, this is kind of nice, you know, it sounds okay. And then I played this one, and I went, hands down, this is the one that wins because it had such a soul to it. I really couldn't believe it. I thought, someone really loved this guitar. Someone who played this guitar played it a lot. You still can't hear me? Was that? Oh, that was somebody's phone. Okay. I thought they said, I can't hear you. It's okay. That's all right. Now, so anyway, what I'll do is, obviously, I'll take this instrument. Oh, first, though, I'm going to get off the microphone but speak as loud as I can so you still can hear me. To compare the two instruments, so a modern guitar here, probably from the let's say that 1900 or a little bit later, and then of course an instrument from 1830. Quite a difference in size and on back and size too, as you can see. Now, I have this instrument tuned to standard tuning, meaning that an E is an E, just like it would be in an orchestra, the way someone would hear it on the piano. This instrument I have tuned down one whole step. So instead of being a low E as the lowest note, it's now a low D. And the reason I have that way is because it's a little bit easier on the bridge here. And also it's a little bit closer to what they were tuned to before, a little lower than that. This instrument is a little lower than that, but still, in the 19th century, we did not tune what's called A440 today, the standard tuning of today. So you heard what the playing of the guitar sounds like. Bright, strong, very macho. Now this instrument here is very delicate, and I really love playing this guitar. First of all, you'll notice, of course, the low pitch. And surprisingly, it puts out quite a bit of sound. I'll let you listen to what it sounds like without a mic. This is what it sounds like without one. So it's brighter than that. So it could be played quite easily without. And I just want to make sure this is not too loud, because you just kind of sort of lose the character a little bit here. Pull it back a little bit. I'm going to play two pieces, very simple pieces, by Francisco Tárrega. They're gentle pieces that work so well on this instrument. And then, I don't know if some of you know, but I love the Beatles too, so I think I'm going to play a Beatles tune on it as well. Yeah, I'm going to play some Beatles on ukulele and some Beatles on the guitar too. So let's start off though with two pieces by Francisco Tárrega. Thank you. Thank you. Isn't it a beautiful sound? It's just a gorgeous sound. So let's see. I've got 3 Beatles tunes. I might even do maybe more than that. One of the nice things about not having a written program is I could just decide as I'm up here. It's like, oh, this guitar's sounding good. I think I'll do another one on this one. And so I know for sure, certain that I'm playing a George Harrison song on the ukulele and also a John Lennon song, predominantly John Lennon. So we must represent Paul. I don't have a Ringo song, though. I'm sorry. Next time, maybe I'll have a Ringo song. There's a few of them out there, but I think the others have a few more on him than that. I think on this guitar, what would sound beautiful would be a song that Paul wrote during that was played on the Hard Day's Night movie. They're black and white, their first feature film, and it's a song called "And I Love Her." It's a gorgeous piece of music. I can't help but tell you a little story about this. This song when I said Paul McCartney, you're probably saying, hey, where's John Lennon fit in all this? Because I thought it was Lennon and McCartney. The Lennon and McCartney team, both John and Paul, agreed way back that if they wrote songs together, it didn't matter who wrote the most or what percentile there was. If one person came in and literally wrote the whole song, it was still going to be called a Lennon and McCartney song. And that's why you see on any Beatles song, as long as they were the Beatles, it was always Lennon and McCartney. Now, usually the way you can tell who the composer is that probably contributed a little bit more than half and probably was the principal composer is by just listening to who's singing the song. And usually you can tell the voices, the very different voice of Paul McCartney and John Lennon. So if you remember or think of a song like Hey Jude, that's Paul McCartney all the way. Let It Be, that's Paul McCartney's voice that you hear there. And I Love Her, that's Paul McCartney's voice that you hear. But you hear a song like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, or Revolution, or Come Together, that's John Lennon. And so here is And I Love Her. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is George gets a little part in this too. And I didn't know this until much later. Paul reveals all these things much later in his career about some of the songs and secrets. Paul wrote the song, and George said, you need some kind of filler or introduction to it. It needs a little guitar riff to get the song going. And Paul says, well, what do you suggest? So George goes, and you know what? That makes the song. It really does. So George's contribution, just that little, because he said it sounds nice to have that little intro. So here's Paul McCartney with a little George in there. Thank you. So how about a few Beatles songs on ukulele? We just heard "And I Love Her," Paul McCartney's song, on an 1830 guitar. And so now I'm going to pull out the ukulele. I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm going to put this very delicately away. I came here with all these guitars, and then I forgot to bring my guitar stands. So at least we got one guitar stand here. That's nice. But I'm going to put this guy delicately away. Where? Oh, no. Okay. I'm going to find a really nice place for it. And then I'll be right back. So the ukulele. I grew up in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. My dad was in the Navy, and we were stationed right there in Pearl Harbor. And the name of the Navy housing was called Halemoku. And I went to Pearl Harbor High. That was the name of my elementary school. And when we took music classes in Hawaii, instead of having a recorder or some other instrument, guess what comes out? The instrument that they brought out for us was the ukulele. And the first thing that they told us It's important to have a strap with this because it moves around a lot. And so this helps me to kind of keep it under control a little bit. Thank you.
Well, that's a wonderful first half of our concert series. And what I forgot to mention earlier, and the reason I needed to have a microphone on, is that we're actually streaming live on YouTube. Yes, so if you have any friends or family that couldn't attend and would like to see the live streaming of this event, you can quickly text them and let them know to look for Hope UMC's channel, and they can find the live streaming of this wonderful concert. And once you're done texting, please silence those cell phones. And like I said before, this is our 15th year having this concert series, and we are so blessed to have your presence here at our congregation. But we couldn't continue this series without your generous donations. So at this time, we will have our ushers come forward, and if you'd like to willingly donate, we'd love to have your donation. And as we all know, not all of us carry cash, but where you can also find our Venmo or our bill pay through our website at hopeumc.com. Thank you.
So during this time, I'm going to play the baritone guitar. This is an instrument that to me sounds probably as close to the cello as any guitar I've ever heard. And so because of that, I'm going to play the first prelude to cellos, or rather the prelude to the first cello suite by Johann Sebastian Bach. You might have heard a little bit more additional reverb in that last piece of music, and that is that oftentimes when you hear, or rather, when I've played in Europe and I've played in some of these cathedrals, literally, the reverberation is unbelievable. It's fantastic, and it sounds really nice on tunes like this next one. So it's going to sound like a cello that's in the setting that I created, was called Taj Mahal. So as you're going to hear Johann Sebastian Bach on cello in the Taj Mahal. And by the way, lately, I have to bring this into the shop. My sixth string keeps on buzzing just slightly. It's not bad, but it's just a little bit, and it's doing it just enough so that I have a little bit of a sitar sound in there too. So I often say I've got some Bach in there, but I've got some little bit of Ravi Shankar in there too. I think I'm going to keep it that way. Thank you. Isn't this guy fun? Okay, so I'll do another one. Actually, I was looking at the time, so I've got to be careful. I've got to do some reduction of what I had planned. But I think it would be nice to hear another tune on this instrument. And what I'm thinking of is like classical gas or something like that. So no, seriously, I just thought, you know what? A good friend of mine, he always loves hearing classical gas on this baritone guitar. So here's one by Mason Williams, 1968. Thank you. Okay, now I'll bring out the cousin of this particular guitar. As I mentioned, this is a baritone guitar. I don't think I introduced it properly. Baritone guitar built by a very good friend. His name is Bernardo. He's a luthier here in San Diego who was a former student of mine, and I saw his guitar building and craft skills right at the very first class that he was in. That was over 30 years ago. Since then, he's built probably about 6 or 7 different guitars for me. This is a Now, the reason that I'm plugging it in is that for this part of the program, just for interest, for those of you that are hearing the classical guitar without any type of extra instruments being played or background or tracks or anything like that, one of the things that working musicians we have to deal with is that oftentimes we have to do very long gigs. Concerts, great, I mean, folks, I could do 2 or 3 hours up here, but I know I'm supposed to just do it for an hour, so don't get worried. But at any rate, oftentimes we're doing gigs for 4 hours, and I did that for many, many years, 14 years straight at the Four Seasons Resort. And what I found is a couple of electronic devices really helped me out a lot. That saved my hands from having to, to play too hard all night long. And that was what's called a loop station. It's a electronic device that will record whatever you put into it and will play it back. So literally you have your own accompaniment right away. And you can start to build on that and create more and more songs. Now, it wasn't only for that. I also used the loop station because oftentimes when I would play in a situation like that, I was given requests. And most of the time I knew the selections that people wanted, but other times it was maybe a pop song that I had never heard before, and I would always just let people know, I guarantee you that if you come back in 15 minutes, I'll play you the song. And they would always look at me very perplexed because, hey, what is 15 minutes going to do, right? Well, I'd just say, I'm going to take a break now, come back in 15 minutes, and I'm going to play the song for you. And so what I would do is I'd go, of course, to the side, and I'd get on YouTube right away. What's the name of that tune? Listen to the tune. Yay, it's not a hard one. 2 or 3 chords. Melody, ooh, easy to remember. Okay, I got it. And then, so instead of having to build a whole arrangement on the fly, which I could do, but it's easier this way, I would just put the chords in, build it up. I'd put a bass part in there, so it's starting to sound like a band or a track. Pardon me. And then play the song, play the melody. So it came in really, really handy. And after a while, it just became part of the act. I would use it for many, many pieces of music. So I just want to do a little demo of it and then just play a little piece for you that was one of the most popular ones. So anything that I play rather, it will record as long as I have the record button engaged. I wasn't kidding. So now if I want to put a bass part, only thing I had to be careful of is to make sure that once I started playing the melody, if I didn't want it to record, is to not engage that record button. Because oftentimes it would. I would record my solos over it too. So I just press a button, and whatever I play over it doesn't record, and so I can play and get all kinds of different effects. I think the most loops I ever put on a tune was I did the Last of the Mohicans, the theme from the Last of the Mohicans, and I think I put 12 different loops onto it. And it was amazing. I loved it. I don't know if everybody else did, but I really loved it. I was having fun with it. So one evening, someone asked, "Do you know the theme song from the Antonio Banderas movie Desperado?" And I said, I don't quite remember it. And they go, it goes like this, and they kind of sang it. And I went, ooh, that sounds a little familiar. And I said, come back in 15 minutes. And then I went over to the side, listened to it. Oh my gosh, this is great. There's only like 3 chords. It's really easy, and the melody is very, very distinct and easy. So I found out that the title is called Canción del Mariachi. the song of the mariachi. Now, when I was playing it, I kind of made it sound a little bit more South American. I put a little bit more of that kind of a vibe to it. But it's just an ever-popular piece of music, so when I'm using the loop station, I like to play it. So I'm going to play the rendition of Canción del Mariachi that so many years ago was brought to my attention at the lobby lounge of the Four Seasons Resort. Thank you. And as I can see, I'm looking at the time, making sure that I don't completely exceed the time limit. I've got one more selection for you, and I'm trying to decide if I should make it my flamenco guitar or my classical guitar. I don't know, this one's kind of talking to me, the flamenco guitar right here. So, because rarely do I get a chance to really play this flamenco guitar as often as I get to play this one, because I'm playing more amplified these days with groups and things. So I would like to conclude with my flamenco guitar, the concert. And the piece that I'm going to play is entitled Tempestad. And the last time I played here at Hope United Methodist Church was in 2020, I believe. I believe someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but that was during COVID, correct? So what we did was we televised, we did a live stream on this very stage here. And I say we because my friend and my good friend George Svoboda and I were the ones that played the music. For years and years, we played this particular piece as our opener. And so I would like to close with that because it just reminds me of some of the fantastic days and years of playing together, over 40 years of playing together. He has a malady with his hand right now, so he's unable to play, because otherwise there would be both of us playing up here on that stage. And so in reference to my very, very good partner, George Svoboda, and as a thanks to Hope United Methodist Church for inviting me to come back and play solo, I would like to conclude with that Tempestad. Many good memories. And thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I hope you've enjoyed the program. Thank you.
Well, folks, enjoying Fred Benedetti's music doesn't have to end here. You can give him a follow at his Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube channel by searching Fred Benedetti. He also has a website, fredbenedetti.com. Also, he'll be joining us at the Covenant Hall with some lights and snacks provided, and you can ask him how to get his CDs or when his upcoming concert. But for now, this concludes our concert series. Thanks for coming, folks. Have a great afternoon.